I'm really excited for it to like finally get the ball rolling on that with some of the singles coming out. And then December I did my first gig just on my own.
Get Radio Breakfast with Rich Smith.
It is band week once again. Yeah, I really love this time of year where we get to speak to fantastic local artists. It gives a real buzz, a sense of pride, and just an amazing thing because there are so many amazing musicians and people out there. And one such one is James from Pet Swim. Morning, James.
Morning, hi. Hi.
Thanks, mate. Thanks so much for joining us. We spoke last year. We spoke on Band Week last year about the amazing Pet Swim project. Basically, do you want to fill us in on the kind of the year that has been, because amazing stuff is going to be happening in the future. But just fill us in what's been happening with you.
Yeah, it feels like it's grown quite massively in the last year. I think I'd done maybe 3 or 4 songs at that point when we last spoke, and kind of shortly after that decided to go ahead with trying to get an album done for it with my producer. So that's kind of where I'm at now, and that's coming out at the end of October. And that's like a year and a half of work, so I'm really excited for it to like finally get the ball rolling on that with some of the singles coming out. And then December I did my first gig just on my own, and then since it's now become a live band, so it just feels like it's gotten really a lot bigger than I expected it to, and there's a lot more sort of like character and elements to it in terms of the live stuff. Like I wear all these feathers, which for me feels very uncharacteristic, but it's nice. It's a fun thing to do.
That's amazing, and just kind of getting to that point. Like, I think all musicians, it's great to release drips and drabs of music and singles and go, oh, I've made this song. But do you think it is there is that sort of ultimate goal to go, actually having an embodiment of music, having an album that is kind of me? That's kind of like the next level on the plateau, isn't it? It's kind of like it's a really cool thing to kind of strive towards.
Yeah, I think it depends. I think you need to be kind of ready for that. I think you need to be at a point where you have an idea of what your sound is, but it allows you to kind of capture a time in your life and kind of move on as well. You know, if you start writing songs that take you in a direction, it's nice to not lose what you've got, because in bands I've been in the past where we didn't quite get to that point, it's like you're constantly changing, and time you're thinking about it, there's like 10, 20 songs that you can't really do because they don't fit anymore. So it's nice to just get it while it's there and kind of have something to represent that time in your life.
And obviously with the kind of with this point of kind of releasing singles, we're going to play the new one very, very soon. But this point of kind of releasing singles up until the album, always with musicians, because obviously you've had these songs, like you said, for a long time. You've been working on it for a year or so, and now we're at that point where it's going to be released. Does it feel like the right moment, or do you feel like with you the moment has kind of gone and it's kind of like, oh, okay, the album's coming out, but I'm looking forward now. I'm looking at the next album, or I'm looking at the next single, or I'm looking at the next direction that I'm going to go in?
I think it feels like that moment. I think I'm still very much like in it, and we're still like finishing off the final track, so still kind of in the headspace of that. And because it's still relatively like a new project, it's still all kind of figuring itself out and getting together. So it is nice, and also like a couple of the songs, what their theme is about and what they're centered around is, I don't want to throw out like the word occult or anything, but you know, there's stuff about horror movies and witches. So I based the release schedule around the Wiccan calendar, which is quite long. So I've had a lot of time to be patient in terms of things coming out. I think it's about 3 months or so from the first single to the album. So.
Right, I guess. So that's nice. So you've given yourself that like kind of like time period, but I guess that if you're kind of sticking to something, you're kind of like, oh yeah, quite like, oh, okay, but no, it'll be the right time. It will be the right time. And in terms of sort of coming up as well, there's other bits and bobs that you're doing as well with the Sub Theory as well, and also Tell us about gigs at the end of August as well.
Yeah, so Sub Theory started working on a few songs with them. I think towards the end of last year or early this year, and got to know them through doing that. And they're all really lovely people. We played together at Riverside just the other weekend, and it's their debut album, which is out on Friday, which is called Shark Tank. So I've got a couple of songs on there, but the whole thing again, I'm really excited to hear, and everyone should listen. They should. It's really nice, kind of Portishead trip hoppy stuff if you like that.
Yeah, we do. We do. No, I'm just going to say I'm going to speak for everyone when I say we do. This is brilliant, and of course playing at Common Ground as well with Gappy Tooth, the brilliant people there as well. I mean, that must be a real buzz.
Yeah. Played there a couple of times, and it's nice. A really nice kind of open space. So yeah, anyone come on, enjoy it. We've got like a lot of visuals in our shows, quite immersive, like engaging thing. And then the support acts are really good, especially Babymaker. I played with a couple of times before. He played with us at the Self Help album launch, and he's really fun. Rory, he's a really nice guy, so get down early for him too.
Brilliant stuff, brilliant. And just tell us a little bit about the new single, which is dropping tomorrow. So it's a little bit of an early sort of exclusively little bit. Tell us a little bit about the song.
Yeah, it's called You're Turning Into It, and I think I struggle to put it succinctly, but essentially it's when you're like younger and you see in the world when you're growing up, observe the way people behave and certain things that maybe you don't like, and you tell yourself as a kid, like quite stringently, oh, I'm never going to do that, I'm never going to do this. And then as you get older, sometimes you kind of understand why people do those things. Maybe you get more experience, or sometimes you do those things, but fundamentally you don't really want to be doing them. You know, you're struggling with whatever it is. And for me, to be honest, alcohol for a long time played a part in my life, and I stopped drinking a couple of months ago, and that's been like amazing. And I think it's kind of about those types of things, you know, becoming this thing that you didn't want to become, and the fear of that, the fear of like not being true to who you want to be, really. And I feel like I'm now, like I am closer to being who I want to be. So it's kind of nice to listen to the song now because it feels like a thing that I've dealt with. Whereas at the time I wrote it, it was definitely a thing of like, help me get out. I'm kind of stuck.
Wow.
So yeah,
Brilliant.
I hope it can people, whoever's listening.
No, amazing, and James, amazing stuff as well, and amazing honesty as well, sort of put into the song. So really looking forward to it, and thank you so much for coming on and joining us here on Band Week.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. Nice to chat to you.